What's up, everybody? I have a really fun video and interview with Zeneca from Twitter today, the founder of Zenacademy, as well as a very well versed trader and investor. He describes himself as a degen, but he is so much more than that. We talk all the topics again, current market conditions, AI, what he's investing in, how he's doing his research, and how he's using his own community, Zenacademy, to not only provide value to people, but to also foster a community of value. I think this is a great one if you're looking for insight from one of the most notable people on crypto Twitter. And I definitely know that I enjoyed it. I definitely learned some stuff on it. So I know, and I hope that you guys will. So enjoy it. As always, thank you to our sponsors that make this possible: Futureproof, Gandhi, 555, my community of NFTs that very grateful for their support making these streams possible and helping me get them done. So sit back, enjoy the interview, and let me know if you have any feedback after the show. Super excited to have Zeneca on today. One of the most followed, one of the most influential traders in the space right now. He runs a community called Zenacademy. There's also a subset of that. I think it's called like 333. You're an investor. You post content. What are you? What would you define yourself as? Like you have like so many titles, like founder, degen. Like what are you?
It's tough because people often ask me, even outside of crypto, like, what do you do? And I'm like, something in crypto. I don't really have a specific thing. It's like you said, I'm a trader, I'm a founder, I run the communities and academy. Um, I'm just a DJ at the end of the day. Like, I'm just clicking buttons and trying things and experimenting. And whether it's creating content or doing my own trading or investing,
Right.
it's all, yeah, just clicking.
Just clicking. I mean, even okay. So on that point, you had a conversation with Frank maybe a couple days ago or a little bit longer ago that was on the idea of like, all right, if everybody is a degen, who are you responsible? If you're a large account and you're talking about a small, small coin or small followed account,
Mm.
what like are we all degens? Are we responsible for posting that kind of stuff? I'm curious on your take there.
Yeah. I think that ultimately everyone is responsible for their own actions. You just have to be in this world and in crypto. But I also think that part of that is if you have a large following and you post a contract address of a coin that has like a sub million market cap or even sub 10 million in some cases, you're going to have an impact on that price. And I'm personally not a fan of doing that. I tend not to talk about coins unless they're usually $1 billion
Hmm.
market cap coins or definitely nothing less than 10 million, 1 million, in that range. That's my personal philosophy. I know some people don't adhere to that or believe in that, and that's fine. That's their views as well. But I don't like impacting markets personally.
We're seeing a lot of that though. I think
It's gotten a lot crazier this cycle, I think, compared to last cycle. I think it might be a bit of a generational thing as well, where it seems to me that I'm 36, 37 soon. I think a lot of people in sort of my age range tend not to want to do that, where it seems that the younger generations are a little more just get your bag, grab it, hustle, do what you got to do, make your money. Everyone's out for themselves. Like it's that is my perception of it. I'm obviously generalizing, and there's people in both buckets that are exceptions to the rule, but that's kind of the way that I'm seeing it. And again,
I
it is
yeah,
what it is.
I think there are you as you get new weaves of people, as you get these new demographics coming in, um, you're definitely going to see different takes on that. I think there's some people who are happy to click away and gamble. I think there's others that do see that as extractive and manipulative. Um, I don't think there's it's not like zero or ones. There's a gray area at the end of the day, probably there. Um,
There definitely is, but I think it's just there's so many cases where someone with a large following, like even if they don't have malicious intent, they're not like loading up on a bunch of side wallets and then dumping. Whenever someone with a large following posts a contract address of a token with a small market cap, it will inevitably pump and dump. And it is usually the people that are newest to the space that get wrecked the most. Because the people that have been around for a while, we all know what's going to happen. But the people that are new to the space are the ones that are like, oh wow, this big account that I just started following and respect just posted, I'm going to ape in right now, and they're the ones that hurt. And I think that's to me the biggest issue
Yeah.
with all
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, the newest people are definitely the most at risk. Um, on the same topic of being, how you're responsible to the community, could you talk some about like Zen Academy for the people who don't know about it? What's the pitch? I see nothing but good things about it on the timeline. You have a very loyal community there. Walk through what it's like having your own community and trading with them.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, I think having a group to trade with and learn with through the space is beneficial for everyone. And being able to sort of like run my own community, I think is it's very fulfilling. So I launched an academy in November 2021, sort of like pretty much peak NFT season. And it was because I'd had a really good year trading, really good year trading, and I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do with my time. And I knew that I wanted to stay in crypto. Like I loved crypto and NFTs and this whole space. But I didn't want to just continue solo trading basically. And all the rage was to launch an NFT project and deliver value to your holders. And I just ran with that and was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not a dev or everyone's making games and metaverse stuff those days. And I was like, I'm not a game designer or anything like that, but I am a content creator and I like to write and I like to help people. And I think that there isn't enough information out there for new people getting into specifically NFTs at the time, but crypto at large. And so I thought, let me just try this experiment. Um, the business model originally was, we'll use royalties from the resales of the NFTs to fund we'll get a team and we'll create more content. And obviously that all
Yeah.
fell apart, over the following 2 years after that. But so now we're largely just, I would say a Discord server where we have a very, very, very loyal, strong core group of community members that have been around for years. And we just help each other out. We learn together still. We hop on calls from time to time. And we're just kind of, navigating the space together. But that's effectively where we are. And there's a whole, I mean, I could speak for an hour on the 2 years that we stuck around through the bear and the things we tried and what we did and all that kind of stuff. But the TLDR is, we didn't make it into a sustainable business. And now we're largely just an online community now yeah.
Yeah, I think anybody who's stuck through the bear markets who I mean, obviously, I think it launched 2021. If you've been able to stick through all of that and still be here, I think that is like a testament to who's in that group and how you're approaching the space. I think, for the new people that are entering, should they go find those groups? Like, do you have to have that group? Because I feel like it's very overwhelming if you don't have it. Like having that like small knit group of like people to be able to like bounce ideas off and I mean there was even a post yesterday, somebody's like, you need to find a group that has a degen, who has the scanner, who has the researcher, who has the like, find that group that has like that balanced set of people. I think that's you have to find that. um yeah, I think you have to find that. It's so
I
important.
think I think it is. It's really, really beneficial to do that. I wouldn't go as far as to say that you have to find it, but if you want to be like trading and every day, like, trying to find, if you want to be in the trenches and trade meme coins or AI agents, then you basically do need to find that to be successful. If you're content sitting back and just, buying some Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and some of the majors and not really getting into the thick of it yourself, which I think is honestly the best strategy for most people, then you don't really need a group that much. I think you can do a little bit of research on your own and not get sucked because it's a double-edged sword having a group like that, which obviously it's massively beneficial for learning and finding new projects and quickly evaluating projects with others. But it also creates all this FOMO and this sense of if you're in that group and everyone around you is aping into a token, you're like, well, I'll put a little bit in, and then that's how you get drawn into this whole buying too many tokens, trading too much, buying too many low market cap things because you
Yeah.
see people all around you in the groups that you're in making 10x, 100x, 1000x. Um, all that kind of stuff. But I really do think that they're net positives if you find a good group, and if you're trying to trade crypto and be in the trenches every day, then yeah, I think you'd be doing yourself a big disservice by not finding one.
Yeah,
Make your own
good
even.
point.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point on, like, also, even if you're in that group, make sure you're doing your own research still. You don't wanna
Mm,
just be a lemming falling into stuff blindly, even though there's probably really, there's you're definitely taking off some of the risk by being in these groups, but, um, you wanna make sure you feel comfortable entering a trade as well, because the second that trade starts to go wrong, you're out of it, and,
yeah.
you gotta
It,
have some
the
conviction about what
unspoken
you're doing.
rule of pretty much every group is it's still PvP. Everyone in the group is trying to make money, and you're competing against everyone else in the group, even if you're all buying the same token. Like someone's going to sell at a better price than someone else in that group, and so it's just by and large, hopefully you can all win. But yeah, some people are going to do better than others in every group.
We haven't It's hard because you can't actually really see what other people in the group are doing. One of the apps that recently came out that has shown that it's been really interesting is Vector. I assume
Mm,
you've used it and looked at it, like,
yeah, yeah,
that whole
it's very
concept of,
interesting.
like, actually being able to see, like, your PFP on the buy, your PFP on the sell, and, "Hey, I was this early and I sold at the top," or, "I was an early dumper," like, do you think we're heading towards a direction where the market is more transparent on, like, what people are doing on chain?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's a really good thing. It allows, like you said, people to see your entries and your exits of tokens. It's not perfect, people can have side wallets as they always will in this space and do other things, but by and large, I think it'll improve the space. As well as it'll cut down on this is one thing that it will definitely do. There's a lot of like larpers on Twitter. There's people that like pretend to like I'm gonna buy. Hey guys, I just bought $10,000 this coin and now it's worth $1 million, and then they share a screenshot that's entirely fake. And it's historically been pretty difficult to prove that. You have to go read the chain and track down their wallet address and then put two and two together. And sometimes that happens, but a lot of the time, people just get away with it. And I think that having apps that prove that, the only way to get your PFP on this graph at a certain price is to actually put the money up and actually buy it at that token price is a really good thing. So yeah, Vector, I'm very excited for.
Yeah, I I think that plus probably some use of AI agents for
Mm,
linking stuff. Obviously, even like Cato is the first, I think, mass wallet to social linking that we've seen. With them kind of incentivizing people to link their socials to a wallet. Cookie, I think, is probably going to do something very
mm.
similar. There's tons of other projects that are doing it. In the current day of things, we talked just a little bit about research. How are you researching things? Like, what is your process for finding new things? And then also, like, once you find it, how are you verifying and what are you looking for?
Yeah, so I mean, it's sort of like organized chaos where it's like, I mean, it's a bunch of Discord servers, a bunch of Telegram chats. I'm just terminally online Twitter, and you just like constantly have this flow of information coming in. And when I see something that is like either I see it pop up in like multiple different places, and I'm like, all right, more people, more and more people are talking about this. I should pay attention to it. Or I just see it pop up once, but it's really interesting to me, then I'll like click through and do a bit more deeper research myself. And then that's when you look into what is it? Is it a token? Is it a project? Is there a team behind it? Is the idea good? Has it been done before? What's the market cap if it's already out? When is it launching if it's not? You look at the holder distribution. You can go further and deeper down the rabbit hole of something once you've found it. But honestly, I think the biggest struggle for most people is finding things in the first place. I remember it was mine back in early 2021 when I was getting into NFTs. I had no idea how to find like I had friends that like got me into crypto, and I was in like a WhatsApp group chat with them. And every now and then they'd post about, hey, there's this new project launching. I literally had no idea how they were finding it. Like, where the hell
Right.
did you hear about this? Because that's the alpha is to get in earlier and earlier. And the answer is just you just have to go down rabbit holes, be terminally online, and that's where having a group helps because you can't catch everything. I miss things all the time. Everyone does. But the more people you have that are like out there looking and in their own different circles, they'll find stuff, and you'll eventually have it on your radar. And then you have to do your own research and see if it fits into your portfolio or style, or it's something you
I
want
would
to
describe
dive
it as
deeper
a
into.
fire hose of information. The more that you have, the better. but you also, the more that's coming out of that fire hose, the more overwhelmed you are. It's certainly a dance of chaos.
Yeah.
Um, in the current market, there's a lot happening, a lot of chaos, more than we've seen in any other cycle. Obviously, that makes sense because there's just more people coming in. There's more technology that's becoming easier to use. I mean, think back in 2021, if you wanted to launch your own token on Solana, where were you starting? You were going and finding a dev, and now it's just, hey, as long as I've got one soul and a photo and a good meme, I've got a ticker, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Um, as far as what you see right now in the current meta, and obviously AI is such a giant part of that mind share, what are you looking at as far as what the meta looks like for the rest of 2025? Where's your focus? How are you approaching the market?
I think AI will remain the dominant meta throughout the rest of this bull cycle. I've been saying it for like 2 years. I got into Tau like in 2023, late 2023, which is an L1 AI play. I've been bullish on Wayfinder, like the
Yep.
Prime and Parallel team. And basically, ever since ChatGPT came out and made a bunch of waves, I was like, yeah, this is a big fucking deal in the world and it's going to be a big deal in crypto. So you should be paying attention to AI. And I don't think any of that has changed at all. And the last few months has really just exacerbated that and proven that, yes, AI is a big deal and I think it's going to stay. However, I think there's always metas within metas and metas in crypto, and I think that gaming hasn't really had a true meta or time in the sun for. I think the last one was like early
Mm,
2024, so it's been about a year when a bunch of gaming projects were like
yep.
raising and hyped, and um, that will come around again this cycle. I think NFTs will have a moment again. I think RWAs and DPIN and it's all narratives in crypto, and I think that we'll cycle through various different narratives from here until the end of this bull, and even in the bear market there'll be narratives. But I think I'm still bullish on meme coins as well. I think that their Murad's thesis still makes a lot of sense, and they'll still perform well. But probably the biggest one this whole cycle, I think, will be AI, and I struggle to think of something that will
What are you
be bigger than that.
within AI? You mentioned Wayfinder. What is like token wise on the large side, all right? We don't have to go, and I won't put you on the spot to talk small, but like on the large side,
Hmm.
the two biggest that we have right now are AI 16Z and virtuals. Where else are
Mhm.
you leaning on one more than the other? How are you approaching like frameworks, launch pads, etc.?
I have a bit of exposure to both, but I'm a lot
Okay.
heavier on the virtual side. I think that uh, part of it was just being. I guess I was relatively early to both. I was there the day AI 16Z launched, and I bought a bit then. Since sold, and then bought back at a higher price. Relatively early to virtuals in that it was like November-ish, and so by being there, I just really like the vibe base. I think a lot. It's a bit more slower paced than Solana. There's fewer like rugs and extractors. Part of it is it's a lot more expensive to launch a token on virtuals than say Pump Fun, and so that dissuades a lot of just like people out there just to scam for like a tiny amount of money. You still have to be careful, of course, but that is it's just basically where I spend a bit more of my time and focus. Um, and then it's exploring new places as well. Like, is there some cool AI stuff coming out on Hyperliquid or Abstract coming up soon? Just paying attention to those. But of the big ones, I think Virtuals and AI16Z are obviously the two that you should be focusing on. AI16Z, if people want to be looking for AI agent stuff. And that's basically where I'm paying my attention as well.
Yeah, I don't think, again, it's not going anywhere. It's sticking around.
Hmm.
Those are the two big ones. Um, what are you building in the AI agent space at all, or are you just trading?
Pretty much just trading. I'm like involved in a couple little projects, like not even as an official advisor, just like occasionally helping friends with ideas and some feedback and marketing thoughts and things like that when they're building things out. But personally, no, and I'm very happy not to be sort of building anything right now. Potentially in a few months, if things are still kicking along, I might look at getting into something. But I'm getting married in like a month, so like life's a little bit crazy over here,
Yeah,
and there's a lot to
congrats.
do. And
That's amazing.
thank you.
I
Yeah, it's hard to be full time bull market while also doing this. So I'm kind of made my peace with, yeah, I'm gonna miss a bunch of stuff, and that's totally fine. Yeah.
I think it's a great mentality to have. I think everybody gets caught up on like, "Oh my god, I missed this," and they don't realize, "Hey, there's 4 more of this coming in the next 20 hours." Like, just,
Yeah.
pick your head up, keep going, stick with it. You can't hit them all. Um, that's interesting. You're getting married. That's amazing. What the balance for your life must be unique here, because I think there's a lot of people that on that same idea of like, "Hey, I can't miss anything," you have a clearly a life outside of crypto that you care very much about, and you're balancing a huge life event. How do you approach the balance of your time?
Yeah, I guess I'm fortunate in that this is not my first cycle, and I was fortunate last cycle to make a decent amount of money. So I don't feel that deep FOMO or pressure or desire to like I have to be locked in and make it this cycle because I did feel that last time. Like, last time I was 18 hours a day. I'd wake up, I'd run to my computer, I'd be on there the entire day. I'd sleep, I'd dream crypto and NFTs. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and then I'd go into my computer and ape something, go back to sleep, wake up. It was that life for months and months and months and months on end. Now, there's a little bit of me that like kind of wants to be in that zone because I just know there's so many opportunities out there, and we won't get these forever, and maybe I'll regret not taking advantage of them as much as I could have in the future. But also, I've just sort of like struggled with burnout a lot in the past, and just want to like try and focus on balance a bit more, and that's again making peace with missing stuff, and not maximizing every opportunity. And I'm okay with that. And yeah, so it's a lot of it's all mental. Like that's what I tell people at the end of the day. It's like trading, investing, crypto, everything is just like it's all the mental game, and it's you're your own biggest enemy. And if you can um, just like get yourself into a space where you're happy and content, that's all that matters at the end of the day, and it'll probably mean you make better decisions as well at the end of the day.
With having made that capital last cycle, obviously that's much easier for you to get to that spot. For those who are starting out though, do you have like, I mean, for some people it's like, "Hey, I read a book or I listened to this podcast," or like how do you approach like actually like making that a methodology?
It it depends on, I mean, it depends. Like, everyone is at a different place in their life, and so that's why it's so hard to give
Sure.
general
Yeah,
advice
I get that.
for crypto. It's like there's a 19-year-old kid with no responsibilities, still living at home and can just be 100% risk on versus a 45-year-old, adult with kids and a mortgage. And it's just very, very different places everyone is in. But I will just say that just keep an open mind, stay curious, and just keep clicking and just keep trying new things, experimenting, tinkering, learning. Keep a journal. Like a trading journal is the best thing anyone can do if they want to get better at trading. um, just do it. Just write down every trade you make, why you made it, what went right, what went wrong afterwards. It will make
It's
it's the
it's
only way to truly improve.
100%. My, like, super
Yeah.
dad, like, response to people when they're like, "Hey, what's the first thing I should buy?" Like, if they're new to crypto, like, "What's I wanna buy my first thing, like, what do I buy?"
Mm.
I always joke. I was like, "Get a nice notebook and a nice pen, and that's your first purchase, and then don't buy anything for, like, a week, just study,
Yeah.
just write things down, you don't
Yeah.
understand an acronym, write it down, figure out what it is. I can guarantee you when you write that acronym down, there's gonna be 3 more that you're like, "What the fuck is this?" And, you just go down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
until you're like, "Okay, like, I understand the Twitter." When I scroll for 2 minutes, there's not a single word or concept or project
Hmm.
I don't understand. Now that's really hard, but it also
Yeah.
forces you to put yourself in the position of learning and not just jumping into, the bee's nest naked, as I guess is a good analogy. Um,
Yeah. 100%.
from a completely different side of things, that's the investment side. There's other people here listening that are founders, they're builders, they're community leaders. Walk me through what it takes to be a successful founder and community leader in the crypto space specifically.
I think with crypto, it is so community first and community focused that I think you have to have that mentality of putting your community first and in the focus. as well as understanding how marketing works in this space and how much of this space is. It obviously depends on the app, but for the most part, how much of this space relies on Twitter, especially. Um, of all the social media platforms, Twitter is just like where we call it crypto Twitter for a reason. It's where like the heart and soul and nexus of crypto is. Everything early happens on Twitter. The biggest minds from the biggest companies and the biggest funds and biggest traders in the world are all on Twitter and interacting with each other and sharing thoughts. And so understanding that is, I think, really important in terms of like growing and scaling and building out a really strong community, as well as keeping your community front and center and like rewarding them. If you're doing a token, give them, Hyperliquid is a great example. Like make your community and users rich and they will reward you and support you and lift you up. Yeah, I think that's the high level picture. And then I think in the weeds of it, I think it's it's like, there's all the traditional startup advice that I think applies as well, like do things that don't scale. Is a really great article by Paul G, where it's like, when you have 100, 10 to 100 members, Final Bosso is a really good example of this, actually. It's hyped NFT project coming out on
Final
Abstract soon.
boss.
I've known the Final Bossu, BOSU. It does mean
Yeah,
Final Boss. It's like an anime style project. And the founder, Kevin, he's been a member of Zenacademy for like years now, 3 years, I would say, since the beginning. I met him, he's been in our calls, and he will, whenever someone new joins the project, he'll hop on a call with them. Like they have a 550 NFT collection. And so it's not impossible for him to, but he will hop on, he's hopped on hundreds of calls and he's just like onboarded people one by one. He's built this really strong community and it's taken literally years. But throughout the bear he was building, and now like things are picking up, and they have one of the most hyped mints coming out in the next, I don't know, month or so. So yeah, I think just you have to put in the hours, and there's so many layers to being a good founder in and out of crypto, and it's really really tough. But I think it starts with just making your
I've
community
noticed
happy.
that from Luca as well. I think that's been a lot of their success. Like
Mm,
he's done so many little things, but like privately that I've seen in person or through talking to other people on the phone, like just that make no sense. It's like, dude, you have so many more important things to do, but that leads to, the conversation of, oh, wait, this guy who manages $100 million fund is all of a sudden now buying penguins because Luca
hmm
spent, an hour on a phone call about something completely different, random. Um, I
yeah.
like that's another great piece of advice to, I think, people, the things that don't scale. Um, you did mention at the beginning of that though about Twitter being kind of like the epicenter of all this stuff. You wrote an article, I believe, back in November on Farcaster. Um, Walk me through your take there. My personal take is yes, there's opportunity to use Farcaster. It's a smaller group of people. There is the upside of are they going to do an airdrop, and how are they going to do that airdrop? Do you think there's risk though, like having splitting up the crypto community into like different echo chambers and having this idea, like we've seen this with like Blue Sky. You have these groups that just go off and break off into their own little area, and then you don't get the homogenous of all these like crazy or the I guess heterogeneous like ideas of like all these different things clashing against each other and then forming like a new narrative. What's your take there?
Yeah, I totally get that. I wrote about it in November 2024. I also wrote about it in, I think, like February of 2024. So like the start of last year and the end of last year. And both times it was because they were getting, a bit more attention in the spotlight and had released new features and stuff like that. Um, and I said how cool it was and how interesting it was and how many exciting, how many builders are there and all that kind of stuff. And I still very much believe in that. I think what they're building is really cool. And at the same time, like, especially in the after the November post, I made a post with Farcaster being like, I love Farcaster, but I don't spend that much time here because it's like I can't split my attention well enough between Twitter and Farcaster. And if I have to choose, Twitter is still where the vast majority of stuff happens, and you'll miss stuff if you just on Farcaster. Whereas if you're on Twitter, you'll basically hear about the cool Farcaster stuff because it makes
Right.
its way to Twitter. Um, However, I think what they're doing is very, very important in that building a decentralized social media network. We haven't really had a true successful use case of that break out yet, and I think that they might be able to do it. And I think that I still firmly believe that the future of social media is decentralized, just like the future of finance is decentralized. It's going to take another decade. It's going to take a long time because just like disrupting traditional finance is going to take a long time, disrupting traditional social media is going to take a long time. But it is really important to have these decentralized networks so that the power is not in the hand of one person or one company. Like we've seen what happened with, Meta has recently reversed their stance, and Zuck came out announcing how they're not going to censor posts and they're going to get rid of the fact checkers. For years, they were censoring and doing things that were difficult to understand. There was no transparency, and a lot of people thought were negative. Same with X before Elon took over, and there's a lot of people unhappy with it after he took over. With a decentralized network like Firecaster, you can just own your own data. You can build your own network if you want. You can pick and choose which network or which platform you like. It's just really interesting. But yes, for the most part, especially at the moment, it's a much smaller community compared to X, Twitter. However, I think if you're a builder, if you're interested, especially in the base ecosystem, it is where a lot of the new ideas form, a lot of the devs hang out, a lot of the most exciting things, creative things spawn out of Farcaster. And there's this great dev energy there where people are building together, helping each other out. And so a lot of the coolest things on the base chain specifically, but even some other chains have been born out of Farcaster. And so I think it's a great place to be. If like talk about how do you find out about projects, go create an account on Farcaster. Just it's really easy to network and meet people there compared to Twitter, and you'll be really early to some really cool stuff.
Yeah, going to those areas that are, like, off the beaten path will lead to that early. Like, you'll
Hmm.
see things that are earlier just because they're in a niche down community, and especially you wanna go to, like, where the builders are, because the builders are that's the source of everything. If you're going to
Yeah,
where the trench flippers are, by the time they're talking about it, it's, 3, 4 layers down the line probably, and you're probably
yeah,
exit
yeah.
liquidity at
Exit
that
liquidity.
point.
Yep.
Um, Farcaster is one of these like breakout new kind of like, hey, decentralization for social media. And for their side of things, it's mostly text based. You do have images and some frames and the mints. Um, we have these other ones popping up. Rodeo's one. I think we'll have to confirm this with Luca on Thursday when he comes on the stream, but I think they're gonna go after streaming pretty hard. Where like, are there other platforms or chains or within, like, the realm of, like, content, are there any other areas that you're looking right now?
Um, Content is such a hard one because distribution is everything, and it's tough to like as a creator, go and build a lot of content on a network that has very, very little distribution. That's why it's so hard for a new social media network to take over an incumbent. The network effects, the literal
Right.
network effects. Uh, I, I think it's good to experiment. Like, go check out Rodeo, go explore Farcaster, go, especially for a newer up and coming creator. I think like you can make a huge name for yourself in a newer space, and then you can sort of migrate that over to one of the larger platforms if you want. But I think it also depends on the style of content you're creating. Like some people are visual creators, and then I think like you want to do YouTube and X video and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think of the main ones, I still have to say Twitter. Like especially now that it's like it has, you have audio, you have video, you can kind of do everything on Twitter. It is, especially if you want to be entrenched in crypto, it's probably the
Do you
the
think
main place to
Elon
be still.
brings crypto integration into Twitter?
Um, Eventually, yes. I don't think it's happening anytime soon, and yeah, but I think eventually, it's kind of like yeah, Elon's an interesting one. He's such a wild card. You really never know what he's going to do. He just wake up one day and be like, "All right, guys, now we have crypto integration," or he could just have like a belief that he's like, "Yeah, we'll never ever do that." I don't get that sense from him. I think I don't think he's like super pro crypto, but he's definitely not against crypto. which I think is a big plus. So I think eventually we'll see some
I
sort of
think so as
integration.
well. He'll probably do it in a way though that's like, "Hey, we're doing Doge," and it's like Doge only for like a month, and he's like, "Actually, you know what?
Yeah,
Anything, any crypto works." But for that 1 month, Doge is
yeah,
gonna run do like a triple in value, and it's gonna be this crazy thing, and it's gonna grab every
yeah,
headline. Um, you never know what he's gonna
yep,
do. Um, on
yeah.
the thesis of never knowing what's gonna happen, we woke up this morning to and even last night actually with the DOJ announcement around all this Bitcoin, 6.5
Mm.
billion, that is allegedly being sold or has been sold or it's been an OTC deal. There's the rumors are rampant. We don't have to get into that speculation, but on the idea of like, hey, there's deals on the market. How are you approaching the fire sale right now? Are you deploying? Are there specific things you're looking at? Or are you like, yo, we're going to 80, everybody needs to chill out, like we're going lower?
I mean, I have no idea if we're going lower or not. I'm not an expert on TA or short-term trends or anything like that. I don't even pretend to be. So for in my mind, like we could wake up 5 days from now and be at like 86K or back at 105K. Like I really have no idea. Um, that said, I don't think the bull market is over. I don't think the top is in. I think that's all just crazy talk. Basically, there's so many bullish catalysts, and this is just one piece of negative news. And so I do think we go much higher in the like next few months than we are right now, and which means that I do think it's a good time to be buying tokens. And the way that I generally approach it is I look for there's two things. Either I look for tokens that I've gotten excited by recently and really wanted to buy, but they just completely gone parabolic, and I just couldn't bring myself to top blast. So like they've got a nice pullback now, and I might enter those tokens. Or I look for tokens that have shown strength in the downturn. Like you always want to see, all right, what token? Everything's dropping right now. Some things are dropping
Right.
70%, 60%. The tokens that have only dropped, like the altcoins, especially that have only dropped like 10%, even when like Bitcoin's dropped 10%, that's showing remarkable strength in this kind of a market. And those are the kind of coins that will bounce back really, really hard. So keep an eye out on those. Two that I have in mind. One is Athena, ENA. Um, it's dropped actually like I don't know 25%, so it's not insignificant, but compared to a lot of other things, it's held up quite well, and it's large enough market cap. And the other is
Yep.
Prime, the gaming token. Because of Wayfinder coming out, obviously there's a lot of speculation in that. But again, it hasn't dropped that 70% like a lot of the newer AI tokens. It's held up, I think, decently well. I haven't bought any of either yet, but they're definitely on my radar, and I think that's just how I approach
Are
it.
there on top of those, are there well, obviously you said you're not a TA or a macro specialist. Are there accounts that you're following that you're like, hey, these are good sources of information for that kind of information?
Yes, I follow so many accounts and have notifications
Like
on for
who?
so many accounts now. Um, Um, I like the
Yep.
pigeon, 0x. I think it's kind of like yeah, Enos, Duck, Donald. Two of probably the bigger accounts. They trade in large size, and they generally not only are they like they obviously get things right sometimes and wrong sometimes. I would say they're generally more right than wrong. But they're also just like level headed, and they're calling for tops or bottoms or creating fear or panic or anything. They're very sensible, logical people. So I like that a lot. Um, oh, it says my connector's lost. I don't know
You're still here. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but
if you're
we'll
still.
we'll
Yeah,
power through it.
are we back? Okay. Yeah, we'll power through. So yeah, I would say those two. Those are my two favorite accounts to follow. And then there's like an aggregate of everyone else, and then I just sort of like take the average of what the consensus seems to be. Um, and just to get that, not necessarily follow it because like there was a moment yesterday when the consensus was, oh, the top is in, where it's like, all right, that's to me obviously ridiculous, but it's good to know what a lot of people are saying, or at least a vocal minority are saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you listening and watching like any of the AI agents for like AI XBT? Are you taking what it's tweeting and saying like, "Oh, this is good insight. I should, look into it," or
Um, Not so much. I do like I see a bunch of the AI agents pop up on my feed. I still think most of them are slop, AI XBT included. I think it makes some really funny replies sometimes, and that helps it go viral. But I do think that it is improving, and honestly, if you're looking to trade based on it, you basically want to have terminal access and go directly and like have a conversation with it, like you would with like
Right.
ChatGPT, and then you can like it'll give much more thought out responses. Its tweets currently like it says random stuff. Sometimes it hallucinates. It'll make mistakes. Whereas if you can, you know, do a bit of your own research and fact check it and go back and forth, then you can. I know people that are making very good money because it basically scans the blockchain and scans all of crypto Twitter and has pretty good understanding of like, all right, the attention is shifting here, and I think this token is going to take off soon, and you can actually make good money doing that. I don't do it myself, but if I were to try and trade based on the information from these agents, you kind of want to
Is
go to the
AI
source rather than
XBT
just
doing
look at what
that,
they're putting on Twitter.
or are there other agents that are doing
Yeah,
that that you are aware of?
there are others, but AIXBT is the one that I'm thinking of
Gotcha.
when I speak about this. It's definitely doing it and doing it
Yeah,
well.
I know a lot of people are a little, and I talked about this with G Money when he was on, like, you look at the price tag to get to terminal access, it's not cheap. Um,
It's
it
ridiculous.
makes no
No.
sense. Like, I get it, if you're an original supporter, give those people, like, the most unrestricted, most bandwidth into AI XBT, but I do think that they should, and they are, I have confirmed this, coming out with additional tools to get that access, and it'll be a good revenue stream.
Hmm.
Like, they'll have a real business, and that comes from
Yeah.
how well they've built out the data ingest side and organize that data. Um, I think there's a lot of agents that have no business, and they're just attention tokens, and it's been
Yeah.
reflected very strongly in the price action with this pullback. Uh, but that also gets rid of the slop and gets rid of the things that weren't gonna last the long period of time. Um, and we're seeing more quality come out. Real devs come in, build stuff that's exciting. Uh, I mean, AIXBT, are you looking at, outside of, like, even just the agent side, like, supporting company, you talked about Tau. I think Tau is an issue of, it's so technical and people don't, like, it's very easy to get AI 16Z or virtuals. It is launchpad for agents that do shit, and all the tokens that go, like, majority of the tokens here go up, and so you wanna, and more people
Hmm.
use it. We've seen pump fund very easy. But for Tau, it's like, okay, decentralized inference. And 99% of the people that hear that in the Web3 space go, "Okay, well, what's inference?" I get it. I got the decentralized side, but, like,
Yeah.
what is inference? Or what is, decentralized compute even? Okay, but what is the actual thesis there? Um, Tao's a whole one discussion. We could talk about that if you want to, but these ancillary companies and projects and protocols that are supporting the AI sector on the data side, on the security side, on the launchpad testing, like, are you looking there? Is there a specific one that you have interest in?
I pay a bit of attention to some of them. I think Cookie is really interesting. It's like the data analytics platform. It's like chain agnostic, platform agnostic. It just provides good information across the whole sector. Kaito is similar. Obviously, Kaito doesn't have a token yet. It has that NFT that they dropped. Um, but I think those kind of plays are interesting. More than the Tau. Like I've been holding Tau again for over a year, maybe 18 months now. And I was very, very bullish on it. I'm still very bullish on it. But like you said, it's very technical. And I heard someone explain on a random Twitter post a while back saying like Tao's issue is that they have a very unfriendly front door. Like the homepage is not great. You get there and you're like, what do I do?
Yep.
Where do I go? What even is this? Whereas virtuals, for instance, you go to and it's like Coin
Oh, it's
Market Cap.
Comic
Everyone
Sans.
understands.
Like,
All right,
it is
here's tokens,
literally
here's the
put
market
in, like,
price.
the like, in the most smooth brain way
I
possible.
know. I think they might have changed that recently. I don't know. Yeah, it's but yeah, that's the thing, and it just highlights the point that attention is everything in this space. It's like it doesn't matter how it does matter how technically good you are, but in terms of like short to medium term price action, it does not matter how technically good you are, how robust you are, how legit you are, how anything. It's literally all attention, and that's kind of why a lot of these AI agents have done so well, is because they went viral on Twitter and got a bunch of attention for doing this, that, or the other, and that got people interested in them, and then number went up, and that got more people interested in them. And I think that that's why Cookie and Kaito are so interesting because they're platforms that people actually use, and now you have people posting screenshots of them to Twitter, generating more attention. and the flywheel is just really, really strong. Obviously, a new protocol could come along and just do what they're doing, but better. But I think that they're building themselves pretty significant moats at this point, and yeah, they're
We
two
saw
to
this
pay
with
attention to.
Blur. Everybody was posting like the screenshot for NFT charts and like the daily Deez was posting this, like the daily P&L for
Hmm.
floor games was all Blur. That's all your timeline was. It wasn't OpenSea anymore. Do you think I think that's probably the
Yeah,
strongest
yeah,
strategy because that's where all the attention is, having a good social growth strategy of posting and reposting onto the timeline, like being able to take those screenshots or your P&L, Bullx and Photon. Yeah, like,
Bullets
all of
photon.
these
Yeah,
platforms are basically figuring out how do I get people to share my product on the timeline, keep that top of mind, and literally just make I mean, it's user generated content if you are really thinking about what the mechanic is. Um,
yeah, it's incredible. I think that like that flywheel is it's like I said before, like marketing is so important to crypto projects, and attention is everything. And so being able to give your users the tools and ability and the inherent desire to want to market for you. Like it's one thing where you like artificially incentivize it by like, hey, we're going to give you tokens if you airdrop, or points, or this if you post about us, versus people who just go ahead and be like, you know what, this is really interesting data. I'm going to share this because I think it'll be useful for my
right.
followers, and I find it interesting. Like that's I think where Kaito and Cookie do really
Yeah,
really well.
that is so true. There's no, like, incentive to share I mean, obviously, like, the referral program that Kaido has, um, but still, like, it's a
Yeah,
tool at the end of the day to be, uh, like, on Kaido's, like, main terminal, like, when you're looking at, like, market mind share and sentiment shift and token price shift and engagement, like, there's no incentive to share that, like, besides, like, this is good data that you can't get anywhere else. Same thing with Cookie. Um,
yeah, and Ocado especially, they went viral well before they
Well
introduced
before.
their referral
Yeah,
program,
that
which has
Yaps
added
didn't
fuel
people
to the
don't
fire.
realize this,
But
Yaps
yeah,
didn't
people, yeah,
exist, like, 4 weeks ago, but
yeah,
Kaido existed, like, months and months and
yeah,
months ago. Um,
yeah.
are you using that, are you a member of Kaido and using that actively?
So I'm not like a subscriber. I haven't paid for access or anything like that. I just use like the free data, but I do check it. I do see like how mindshare is moving, and um, just sort of like where the attention is. Even with Yaps, I think is really interesting, especially like the emerging Yappers. You can see like newer accounts that are getting a bit more attention, and just kind of find out who's um, I mean, I've always said like the biggest alpha on Twitter is going to come. It always comes from the smaller accounts. Like the loudest accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers, just generally everyone just repeats the same slop, and it's like nothing new or interesting. Whereas, generally speaking, there are a few exceptions. But whereas the accounts with like 1,000 followers or 5,000 followers or 300 followers often post the
Why
most
is that?
insightful things, and I think part of it is in order to get to hundreds of thousands of followers, normally you have to like engagement farm and play the game and like it's tough to get to that many followers unless you're intentionally trying to get to that many followers. And I think that the type of person that wants to get to that many followers isn't always the type of person that has great alpha. It's like sometimes you find like the best of both worlds, and that's where someone like the pigeon or the duck. It's funny these names. Don Alt and Zero X Ines, I think is the at. They both have large followings, but they also post really good content. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of the larger accounts are just like loud rather than
I
insightful.
yeah, I I can think of some for sure that are large and they just make noise, and I get that.
Hmm.
It's a fun part of
I
yeah.
mean, they provide
That's still
entertainment
value.
or like other
Entertainment
sorts
is
of value,
value.
but it's like don't yeah, but don't go to look for them for like some up and coming project, because that's where I think people get messed up a lot, because they like certain accounts, they like the people, the personality behind them, like the entertainment. They might interview others, they like that. They like there's so many aspects of them. They like them on Twitter Spaces that they host, but then they go and post some low market cap token, and they have their own thesis on it, and it's like you follow them for entertainment and other reasons, not because they're an insightful trader. And people conflate the two sometimes, and follow the wrong
Do you
people for
think
the wrong reasons.
you fit that, like grouping of your large account, you and obviously you don't just post like entertainment, you're not engagement farming. You do post I want to make that very clear to everybody listening. You post quality stuff.
Hmm.
Um how do you personally approach it though?
I mean, I've sort of been on various ends of the spectrum in that there were. I've never really lent too heavily into the engagement farming stuff, but I've definitely sort of played the game, so to speak, in terms of like looked at how you could improve your engage, how I could improve my engagement on Twitter, and focused more in on that, and like tailored my tweets a little bit more to that, which is just basic things like be topical, um, you know, uh, reply to a lot of people, all that kind of stuff. Because when I was building my following originally, I obviously wanted to have more followers. I think most people on Twitter generally want to have more followers. Um, but I just tend to avoid the engagement farming stuff too much, and but I also don't think I like, especially lately, I've been great on like providing alpha or um, good information. Like, if people want to trade and find new tokens, my account is also not the account to follow. So I'm kind of in this weird middle ground where, and I'm okay with it. I'm just doing my own thing and I just share my thoughts, and it's honestly the most comfortable I've been in a long time because I don't care if I get more followers or not at this point. I don't care if I lose followers. I don't care what people think. I'm not trying to be popular or a main character or provide the best alpha or anything. I'm just literally I just tweet what I think, and it's the most freeing, liberating
Do you
thing
think that
I can
authenticity is
imagine.
what has helped you grow and stick? I mean, because you are on in the and just I guess for other people that don't understand, or if you're not understanding this, like on Cato, you are top 100 on like every metric within crypto. And that's not easy to achieve. And there are many people that are in the top 100 that are truly just engagement farming to get that engagement and stay relevant. Do you think being just an authentic character brings that, and should more people do that?
I do, yeah. I think I biggest advice all the time is the best thing you can do if you don't want to be pure engagement farming, which I really recommend against. I just don't like that. But like the best thing you can do is be authentic, be yourself, because anyone out there can copy paste the same threads, post the same type of content, can engagement farm the same way. The only thing no one else can do is be you. And I think we all have unique voices. We all have unique perspectives on crypto and the space. Bring your previous life experience into it. Share your experiences. Talk about your own journey. Be authentic. Be raw. Be emotional. Be wear your emotions on your sleeve. That's what, especially now with all these AI bots and all this slop coming out. It's like that's what people want to read. Like, think about the kind of content you want to read, and you stop and read, and you send to your friends. And most of the time, it's either going to be like really informative content, like, oh hey, someone just like easy just posted this video on how to provide liquidity. That's a post that goes
Right.
viral because it helps people. Or Sammy posts a market overview of AI agents. That's a really great helpful thing. Or it's someone just they just lost all their money on a bad trade, leverage trade, and they're telling you what they did wrong, and they're like really open about it, and they're raw and sore, and but you learn through their words, and I think that like being
Do you think
authentic is
authenticity
critical.
matters more in an AI world? I mean, everybody says like, how are agents? How is AI going to change
Yeah.
everything? Being a content creator all of a sudden becomes more valuable. Like, I know Thread guy was like, "Yo, my job. I'm like out of a job in a second here," but I, I don't know. Like, I don't think AI for a very, very long time can really ever connect on like the emotional storytelling and, again, that like raw emotion of like, fuck, I just lost, even if it's $20,000, like I lost $20,000 in a leverage trade. Here's all the shit I did wrong. Like I'm a fucking idiot, and I listed it like that. That actually has emotion in text, yes, but even
Hmm.
more so in video or audio.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like AI agents will can already like post a thread on information and like just share facts, and that's the stuff that'll get basically replicated and taken away really,
Yeah,
really quickly. It's that pure human connection and emotion that uh, there will eventually be AI agents that are very, very good at mimicking and copying and evoking those emotions, and it'll be hard to tell the difference. But I think that's going to be a while away still, and one of the safest ways to sort of maintain a following and an audience and whatever a connection to others is to just be raw, authentically human.
Amazing. Love that. On the topic of agents, a lot of people here are trading, but there's probably a lot of people also listening to this that are building. Um, we did touch on 2. AI16Z is kind of becoming a launch pad. They've talked about it. Virtuals is a launch pad, base focused. And then there's Top Hat, there's Trader.bid, and there's also Pump Fund, which is not a AI focused launch pad, but it is a launch pad where people are using to launch their AI tokens.
Hmm.
In your opinion, if you are building in the AI agent space right now, where should somebody launch a token and how should they launch that token?
It's a good question. I think it depends on who you are and your level of expertise and how involved you want to be. As I understand it, in very layman terms, Virtuals is a little easier to launch. They make it a little more streamlined, and there's a little more hand holding, and it's easier to launch. And they have good tooling and everything, but it's just easier. Versus AI16Z, which is I think a little more open source, and you kind of have to do everything yourself. And some people like that, and like you have a little more freedom, and you can do more stuff over there. I know that both are trying to improve in the other direction. Like you said, AI16Z is coming out with their launchpad to make it easier for people to launch, and Virtuals is creating more dev tooling to make it, more things that devs can do. I would just say start at look at those two. You can go further down the curve and look at your top hat or your creator.bid or your even like what's coming up on abstract or hyperliquid EVM and try and like be one of the first big tokens on a new platform. But there's always additional risk with that. Does the platform survive? Does the platform support you? Does the chain survive? Whereas by and large, I think it's for the rest of this cycle and meta. I think it's hard to imagine either AI60Z or virtuals going anywhere and probably not being the dominant platforms. And so I generally advise it's like when people say, what chain should I launch my NFT project on? And it's like, do you go on ETH or Solana or Sui or Say or and I almost always advise against like the exotic chains, even if they're giving you a grant from the foundation, because you kind of want to go where all the activity
Let me
is,
get
and it's basically on base in Solana at the
Yeah.
moment.
Again, attention. Where's the attention? We live in crypto is
Hmm.
an attention economy. I know like Beanie's gonna hear that and he's gonna give me shit and be like, that's not a real economy and that doesn't exist. But it did. So fuck off, Beanie. Um, I you mentioned something in there that was also interesting. Um, oh my god, I'm losing it. We just talked about launching abstract. I'm
uh,
so sorry.
the and it,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know how we're having this entire conversation and not bringing up abstract. Obviously,
yeah,
Luca Nets is crushing it right now. Pudgy TGE,
yep.
everything's back above TGE for value of Pudgy plus Pengu. Abstract launch coming up here very quickly for their layer 2. How are you playing it? What are you looking at? Bullish, not bullish? Just give me the run.
I'm yeah, very excited for it. I'm definitely bullish. Uh, I am cautiously bullish. I think it's. I guess I'd say I've been burned in the past. We've been burned in the
Blast.
past. Blast
Blast.
obviously being the obvious example. Everyone said the same thing. Oh my god, it's so hyped. Pac-Man is such a good builder. He builds great products. We're going to bet on Pac-Man. Look at all these cool apps launching on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously it flopped out the gate. I still think it'll have a good chance of coming back, and they're doing some cool stuff. But you hear a lot of the same rhetoric around abstract now. Oh my god, Luca is the best, the GOAT, best builder. There's a lot of cool apps launching, and I think he is an absolutely goaded builder. And I think that they can pull it off. It is really, 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 really hard to launch an L2 and succeed and gain that market share. But again, it's attention. And Luca is just probably the best in the space at getting that attention in and out of crypto. There's a lot of cool stuff launching on there. I'm very bullish on it. I think that, I mean, again, I'm happy to be wrong twice, but I was bullish on Blast. But um, yeah, I think they'll pull it off. I think it'll be really successful. I think they'll be what they set out to be and be like an easy to use blockchain, good for consumers and average users, great for NFTs. Perhaps even I think gaming is probably going to be big on there as well. I think it'll be a big airdrop as well, again, for the community.
I,
For those who weren't around a year ago, there was Abstract originally was called Frame, and they even put out like a points checker for like you can put your wallets in and see how many points you were going to get. And they basically rewarded people that paid royalties on NFTs over the past few years. And so it'll definitely reward the NFT community because they said that those points will transfer over. And we saw what Luca did with Pengu, and they gave a bunch of tokens to just anyone that had used ETH and Solana, and maybe they do something similar. And they'll definitely reward the Pudgy community. And so I'm personally playing it by just holding. I have two big penguins, three littles, and a bunch of Pengu, and I'm just that's my exposure. Obviously, again, getting married in a month, it's going to launch sometime this month. It's like the timing is not great for me to be actively doing stuff and engaging with the chain much more than that. So I'm content with the passive strategy of just having this financial
right.
exposure.
Yeah, that's a good approach to it. Are there specific projects on Abstract? You mentioned Final Bossu. Are there other ones that you are again, you are cautiously optimistic here, so we'll make sure that's known by everyone listening. Are there other projects that you're like, "This is interesting, I have attention here," or are there ones you're like, "Yo, I'm minting, I need it, I gotta have it."
Honestly, I haven't paid that much attention. Again, it's sort of like been intentional. I just know that I'm not going to be around clicking buttons, and I won't be there. I just won't be very active in the
Yep.
first few weeks. And it's almost like I don't want to give myself FOMO by finding all these cool projects and then knowing I just can't be engaging with them. So I'm kind of keeping that arm's length. Final Boss is just the one that I've known about for literal years. I've met Kevin, the founder of that, and so I'm definitely bullish on it for those reasons. Um, I'm just trying to think if I'm forgetting something, but yeah, basically, I'm intentionally not going too deep into
You don't
looking
wanna
at the
be
projects
standing on the
themselves.
altar thinking about, "Oh, fuck, I'm missing like, that's the last thing you want on your mind.
I know. I have a whole plan. I'm like, I'm gonna take, sell a bunch of stuff like a week or two ahead of time, and just like be content with, I've got my positions now. I've taken some profit. Go have the wedding, go have the little honeymoon, and then come back 2 weeks later and be like, all right, what's happened in the market? I don't really, yeah, I don't have to check in
That
every day.
actually might be like an alpha, like, play. That might put you in an advantage, like, to step away and then back gives
Hmm.
you I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, shit, I missed so much stuff, I have to play catch up." Sure, yeah, you need to catch up on, like, what's happened and get back into, like, where is the current meta, where's the momentum, but you also come in, like, fresh-minded. You haven't been waking up every day and, in this, like, constant little, like, flow state of, "Here's all this information." You just go, "Okay, well, actually, you know what?
Mm.
Like, all those things these people are talking about, that's actual crap." Like, they've been mind washed for the last week and a half while I've been gone.
Yeah,
Um I've definitely noticed that as well, like, to step away sometimes is actually more EV positive.
it's so beneficial. It really is. It gives you perspective, I think. It's so easy to get caught up in this space where you drink the Kool-Aid and you're like, "Oh, this is what happened for me in 2021." It's like, "Oh, this is a new paradigm. This is gonna change the world. NFT is gonna be the best thing ever. Every industry is gonna integrate with them." And I still think they will, like, eventually. It is revolutionary technology, but it's like that's gonna take years and years and years and years and years. And yeah, I think the same thing will happen. I mean, everyone says it with AI agents. It's like they're way overhyped. I think prices probably still go a lot higher from here, but they will crash 99% of, for the most part. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's, you gotta go back and study those last cycles as well, like, what did the NFT market do? And I've always said,
Hmm.
who was the early mover within NFTs? What did well? Well, launch pads for NFTs always did well. What type of NFTs did well? It was the ones that had utility and actually provided value back to holders. Okay, like take those like little lessons. They're not going to repeat. You're not
Yeah,
going to see that same cycle of like, okay, 2025, I'm only buying NFTs that provide utility. Well, I mean, those will do okay, but you should be looking for NFTs that and agents that do that in a leveled up experience of just providing utility. Um, I think
yeah.
that's a good way to study
No,
history to be actionable off of it.
no, I definitely agree with that. And one other thing that I think about a lot is looking back at where the gains came from, and the vast majority of gains through NFTs and through everything comes from a very, very small percentage of projects. And so I think one mistake I made last cycle was like spreading myself way too thin. I had way too many NFTs and way too many collections. And during the bull run, when everything's going up, it's very good. But then as soon as things start to turn, you just lose. You have a lot of things that drop literally 99 to 100%, whereas the better tokens, they might only drop 50% or 40%. And on aggregate as well, they tend to go up more than the others anyways. Like you would have been better off just holding like punks and apes in 2021 than buying like trying to hold every new mint that came out. Yes, you would have made like good money on some of them, but you would have got rugged on others. And I think on aggregate, you wouldn't have outperformed the results of
I think a
punks
lot
and
of
apes.
people let themselves get spread thin because it's more like on the timeline, you're like, "Oh yeah, that is my bag," or like, "Oh yeah, I own that too," because like they don't want to be again that idea of like missing out on the one thing. Um, I think that goes
Yeah.
back to forcing yourself to, okay, only pick a couple winners, have a strategy, um, and then also take like today's a great example. Again, go look at your bags and be like, okay, what would I rather buy a lot of on today, and who didn't perform and who performed better on this pullback. And then you like cut some losers today, like cut them out and like move them into the stronger bag because today
Hmm.
is kind of being transparent and revealing what's going to happen in the long term for a lot of these projects.
Yeah, people tend to not like selling when their bags are down. Everyone's like have that sunk cost fallacy where they're like, "Well, I'll just sell when it gets back to even," or I don't want to sell now. Whereas, like you said, the market is showing you what's good and what's not, and cut the losers and double down on the winners. And you won't get it right. You can't get it right. Maybe something you cut goes off and does a 50x or 100x, either because of something that they're doing now, or there's some crazy announcement that you can never have predicted comes out, or one of your winners that you have a lot of conviction in just fumbles the bag and just crashes. And that's why you want to be a little bit diversified. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you don't want to be. I think over diversification is as much of a risk, perhaps more of a risk than under diversification for most people.
That's that's a great takeaway. If you're listening to that, listening to this, that is write that down. Try to like integrate that into your system because I think not enough people have that top of mind. Um, Zeneca, real quick, we'll wrap up here. I appreciate your time. Is there anything around what you're doing with Zen Academy and what you're working on? And obviously, you're stepping away for your wedding, which is amazing. But for everybody who's listening, is there one last like pitch or what do you want to talk about? Plug it here. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll just say go pick up one of our NFTs and hop in the Discord. It's like you just search Denizens, or go to my Twitter bio and click onto the Zen Academy account. You can find the link there. I think they're back at like 0.03, zero point zero 0.04 ETH, which there's so many groups out there that charge hundreds of dollars a month to join. And I think that if you're looking for a good group of people to learn with, I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I think that Zen Academy has some of the best people I've ever met in the space. And it's like I don't make any money. We don't make any money off it. It's this business model. You buy an NFT that you can sell in the future. It's like it's largely free. I mean, yeah. I don't think we're going to zero or anything like that. So come check us out, and then we'd love to have you. And then in terms of what we're doing, it's largely a Discord community where we just share information and help each other out. I am working on a book
Oh,
though, which probably won't come out till a while after the wedding because books take time. But I'm trying to distill like all the lessons I've learned from the last few cycles, as well as being a poker player before this. I was a
oh,
professional for
really?
about 15 years, so like there are a lot of lessons that go from poker into crypto. Yeah, so yeah, I keep an eye out for that, but it's probably still a couple months
Wow,
away.
impressive. A man of many skills and talents, and who has, I mean, ridden through. And one of the comments here from Drew Marshall was that you've weathered so many storms in crypto and came out successful while
Hmm.
adding value, which is a great, I think, kind of show cap for who you are and why you were on the show today. Zeneca, again, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on here. If you aren't, make sure you're following him on Twitter, and go check out Zen Academy. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you so much.